Wellness with Dr. Natasha. I'm your host, Natasha, and I'm so excited to start this journey of better health and fitness with you. For our very first episode, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Dr. Natasha. By profession, I'm a physician, and I work as a doctor in Austin. Outside of that, I'm an aspiring actress, as well as someone who's very passionate about mental health, as well as fitness. To start off, I'd like to tell you a few goals I have for this show. One of them is talking about both mental health as well as physical health. So in our world today, including the US, 40% of mental health goes untreated. For someone who's in the profession of mental health, that's incredibly disappointing. Part of that is the stigma around mental health which still exists. To start talking about that and to help remove that stigma is one of my goals for this show. So for our community especially, the South Asian community, the stigma is bigger. We tend to take mental health and shove it underneath the door, underneath the mat, closed doors. But my goal here is to start talking about ways to improve your mental health. Now there's 3 ways that I'm gonna be talking about. One is talking about using medicine, so seeing a psychiatrist for your mental health, or therapy, going to therapy, talk therapy, trauma therapy, recovery therapy, and then last but not least, mostly what this show is about, which is going to be focused on other ways of wellness to improve your health. So those are gonna be whether it's yoga, physical activity, diet, meditation, or mindfulness. So how are we gonna do that? What we're gonna do is we're gonna have experts and guests come to our show and talk about how their lifestyle and their ways of living are teaching others to live a healthier life. So these guests are gonna be yoga experts, experts in fitness, physicians, or people who are out there teaching people. At the end of the day, the goal is that anyone, any day, can start living a healthier life. And that's what we're gonna talk about on this show. Second of all, a lot of what we're gonna talk about is gonna be based on the idea that the mind and the body have a connection between them. So my goal is to take all these experts and have them explain to us how having better physical health can lead to better mental health. We'll be touching on topics such as anxiety, depression, as well as increased stress in our world. I hope that through all these guests, you guys will learn their tricks and tips to live a better and healthier life. If I could give you any advice or a summary of our show, it's that every day is a beautiful day to start living a healthier life. And I hope that with our guests and my show, we can start doing just that.
शुगरलैंड में आ रहा है अल्ट्रा वर्ल्ड फूड। 61,000 स्क्वायर फीट में होगा आपका अपना देसी मिनी मॉल, जहां ग्रोसरी से लेकर होम फर्निशिंग तक ये है वन स्टॉप शॉप डेस्टिनेशन लोकेटेड इन न्यू टेरिटरी एरिया एट यूनिवर्सिटी एंड ग्रैंड पार्कवे। अल्ट्रा offers retail space for all businesses. Al-Rabba World Foods. For more information, call Amir Ali at 512-652-8462. सुनो, आज क्या पकाऊं?
कुछ नया पकाओ यार।
हर रोज का है देखो एक ही सवाल, आज क्या पकाऊं? क्या है ख्याल?
आ गए नए मलका रेसिपी मसाले, खालिस और बेहतरीन अज्जा, मुनफरिद जायका, नो एडेड एमएसजी और ग्लूटेन से महफूज। लखनवी बिरयानी, हैदराबादी अचार गोश्त, पंजाबी तड़का दाल, पेशावरी कढ़ाई।
मुझको देखो मिल गया इसका एक हल, रोज है मजा नया, आज हो या कल।
आज तो कमाल कर दिया।
कमाल तो मलका ने किया है।
तुम ही तो हो मेरे दिल की मलका।
मलका, कुछ नया पकाओ।
Our story begins more than 60 years ago inside an abandoned chicken coop where our founder discovered a retired teacher living, no home, no health care. So she said no to this injustice and yes to transforming lives. It's this drive, this compassion that inspired AARP. Today we empower people to choose how they live as they age. We advocate for health and financial security. We strengthen communities everywhere. We are AARP Houston, creating real possibilities.
Kick off the new year with a new Cadillac from Ron Carter Cadillac. Own the new 2020 Cadillac Escalade with $9,000 customer cash, or drive for just $829 a month. The first ever 2020 XT6 premium luxury crossover for $499 a month, or the new 2020 XT4 luxury collection just $379 a month. All for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Your only Houston area Cadillac to your door dealer, RonCarterCadillac.com.
When it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
मनपसंद सुपरमार्केट जहां की फ्रेश वेजिटेबल्स, स्पाइसेस, फ्रोजन फूड आइटम्स आपको सबसे अच्छे प्राइस में मिलेंगी और हलाल ज़बीहा मीट भी मिलेगा। दाम मनपसंद, नाम मनपसंद, तो फिर क्यों ना जाए मनपसंद? Located at Wilcrest Drive, Houston, North Highway and William Cannon Drive, Austin, Texas. तो नाम याद रखिएगा, मनपसंद सुपरमार्केट।
डुबकी लगा ससीटो का मजा बड़ा ससीटो टमाटो केचप मजे की डुबकी।
And for our first show, we have a very special guest in store for you guys. When I think of wellness, I think of Rabia. Rabia is a Ayurvedic practitioner as well as a yoga therapist, and her passion lies in harmonizing Western medicine with Eastern healing. And she's here to talk to us about yoga as well as Ayurvedic healing. Please welcome Rabia Magani. Rabia, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so glad. So I know that you're a specialist in both Ayurvedic medicine as well as yoga, and I want you to talk to us about both of them, but why don't we start with Ayurveda first? Please tell us a bit about what Ayurveda is and how to get more involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ayurveda is actually a 3,000-year-old healing methodology. So it's a holistic healing methodology. When I mean holistic, I mean whole body. In Western medicine, the body can be compartmentalized in parts, but in Ayurveda, it's the whole body working together synergistically. So it's mind, body, and spirit. And that's kind of why I've been drawn to it, because I get to use all parts of me to feel better.
That's fair. And with the direction of medicine that we're heading in, we want it to be more holistic, not just parts of body, but body, mind, and soul.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how to get more involved in Ayurveda.
So it's really easy to get involved in Ayurveda. I think Ayurveda is just simple ways of life. Ayur means life and Veda means the science of. So it's not anything that's hard to understand, or it's a science that's out of reach. It's just about living your life according to your body. It's about finding harmony with your body, finding the times where you need to be sleeping correctly, finding the things that you need to be eating correctly, taking time to handle stress. So I think Ayurveda can be very accessible as long as you're in tune with yourself.
That's fair. So it's more of a lifestyle that you have to put together. And how did you get started with this lifestyle?
So as a child of immigrant parents from Pakistan, coming into America, not knowing much about Western medicine, all I knew about feeling better was prayer, tinctures, and teas, using yourself, using affirmations to feel better. So this is something I've been rooted in for a very, very long time. And I feel like in today's fast-paced world, what better time to bring this out to the masses than now?
That's fair. We are kind of living in a world where people, when they develop disease, it sort of grows into other comorbidities.
Yeah.
And so kind of having a holistic approach helps with that.
Absolutely.
So how does your Ayurvedic practice work in terms of working with clients?
So I think the best thing that I love about Ayurveda is that there's this mentality of one size does not fit all. There's not one way to approach everyone. There's not one thing I could tell everyone that could work for everyone. I think it's great because it's such a special relationship you have with each client, knowing about them, knowing how they are, and finding attuned to what works for them, finding a way that helps them find harmony with themselves and their body. I think when you have dis-ease, it's the absence of ease in your body. So finding their way back to their own natural constitution of their body is something that I really like to do. And I think one-on-one consultations are my favorite because you get to know people more on an individual basis, get to know what's causing the issues and how to help them get back on track.
That's fair. I think that'd be very helpful for someone who's struggling with diet as well as disease.
Absolutely.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about yoga. I know you're a yoga therapist as well.
Yeah. So yoga has been just a passion of mine for several years. I've been practicing yoga since I was around 6 years old. So it's just been a part of me in my life. I think in the West, when you think of yoga, you think about a workout. You think about nailing this perfect posture.
A lot of workout classes available for yoga.
A lot of sweating, a lot of going into headstands, nailing postures. But I think yoga is so much more than that. It's so beautiful because it's the synchronization of breath and body. You're becoming mindful in the moment. You're using your breath to elongate, and on the exhale, you're moving forward. So it allows you to come back into the present moment. I think a lot of our worries and anxieties lie in the past and the future. But when you're in the present moment and you're present with your breath and you're aware, you're here right now. You're alleviated from your anxiety. So it's such a beautiful treatment that's accessible to everyone at any given time.
That's fair, and with our fast-paced day and world now, it's really important to take time out to breathe.
Yes.
And we don't tend to do that very often.
We forget to breathe. We forget to breathe. And I think having just that time where your focus is solely on breathing, that time you take on the mat is so much more accessible off the mat. The way that you are on the mat, what you're practicing, how you're breathing on the mat, you take that and it's translated into real world. So it's so beneficial.
That's fair. And what kind of classes do you teach?
So I like to teach more, with yoga therapy, it's more specialized classes. So again, with the same idea that one size does not fit all, I don't really like to do one class for everybody. You never know what anyone is going through. So I like to teach more restorative hatha yoga, and that's more just finding our way back to the ground. I think when we're in this area, like you said, this fast-paced world, we have so much anxiety, so much of our energy is up here. So I like to focus my classes on bringing them back down to the ground, doing a lot of floor work, do a lot of restorative yoga, focusing on body, focusing on mind and breath, so bringing them back to the present moment.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So tell us about your favorite yoga pose or your favorite breathing exercise.
Yeah. So my favorite yoga pose, and this is going to sound so contrary to what people think yoga is now, it's actually not a headstand or nailing this crazy posture you can find on Instagram. It's actually just child's pose. I like to get back down on the ground and, let the knees go wide, come back on the ground, find your palms down on the ground, forehead comes to the ground, and you just breathe. And it's such a restorative posture that you can come to at any time of the day to find a little just reset for the day or winding down or finding more energy. And I find that to be such a nice space for me to just come home to myself.
That's fair. Child's pose is one of my favorite yoga poses as well. We look forward to the end, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the benefits of both Ayurveda and yoga.
Yeah. So Ayurveda and yoga are actually sister sciences. There's not one without the other. I think Ayurveda is just finding that balance in your body when it comes to disease, and yoga is finding breath and movement. So it's both parts of your body, and they both work together synergistically. Like I said, I don't think one can do without the other. So when you think about movement in Ayurveda, when someone is recommended their lifestyle habits, that lifestyle then becomes translated into yoga. Yoga then becomes pranayama, which is breath retention or controlled breathing to help the mind and body. So they both work together. And when you focus on what it is that you want to do with your diet and your lifestyle and how you want to feel better, when the body is feeling better, then you're in a better mood to get into yoga. Then you can move your body more. And so you can help balance both by working both together. Yeah.
So it's definitely the connection between body and mind there.
Absolutely, always.
And personally, I feel like having physical exercise or having some kind of movement throughout the day can be very beneficial for health in general, because not only does it make your body feel better, but it also helps your mental health.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about how you think yoga can help with anxiety or depression.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said, when you find those poses where you're doing child's pose, or you're doing when you're doing certain things like coming back into the ground, or you're coming back into finding your way back home. These are the ways that you can alleviate anxiety in your body. When you're coming back into those areas where you're focusing on your breath. And like I said, when you come back into the breath, you're coming back into the present moment. That's when your anxieties are being relieved. So it's super helpful to find that time to come back and find a space. And like you said, daily movement is super important. So finding that time every day that works best for you, according to your schedule, and finding that time to come back to your breath, come back to the movement, come back to the moment, and you immediately want to stop worrying about what's coming next and what's coming or what's happened to you. You're just here, and you're here in the now.
Yeah, I personally feel when I do yoga that being on the mat itself is a magical moment.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're very connected to your mat and you've gone to classes or you've learned on that mat, then you kind of build a relationship.
You do. It feels like home, right?
It does. It does. Tell me a little bit about what you'd recommend to our viewers in regards to starting to do yoga. I know it's possible to do yoga in classes, but even at home or by watching videos, kind of what's your recommendation for someone wanting to get started?
I think like the biggest thing to get started is just get on the mat, roll the mat out. I like to just do these ideas of baby steps. I don't like to just jump into it because I feel like then our minds we can do a little bit of self-sabotage. So it's nice to just make an intention for today. I'm just gonna roll my mat out. I'm just gonna do one pose for 1 minute and that's it. And usually when we find ourselves feeling better, we understand like this feels really good. That 1 minute becomes 5 minutes, 5 minutes becomes 20 minutes. So it's just baby steps. Just gotta convince yourself that, hey, today I'm just gonna roll out my mat. I'm just gonna do some deep breathing on my mat for 5 minutes and that's it. And you'll find yourself as days go on and how good you start feeling that your practice will start prolonging on its own.
That's fair. And you know, when I started, I felt like you had to be a certain personality to do yoga and you had to have knowledge about it. But what helped me is, you know, kind of like you said, you roll out the mat and you just see how you feel on the mat itself. But I didn't even start with doing a pose. I just started by sitting and thinking about my day.
Yeah.
Sort of in like a meditative way.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that. I know you meditate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think meditation is like one of the best ways to relieve stress. And I think like it's really good to just sit on your mat and to meditate. I think a common misconception or myth we have about meditation is that, oh, like I can't stop thinking. I have all these thoughts, I can't stop thinking. It's like, well, the goal isn't to stop thinking. You know, our mind produces over 80,000 thoughts a day. We can't stop thinking. But what we can do is that as soon as we notice that we're thinking too much, we come back to our breath. As soon as we're breathing, our thinking mind is turned off. So as long as you're breathing, you're in the present moment, you continuously breathe. When we practice that breathing, we're here in this breath now. We have thought, 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 thought. You're breathing, thought, thought.
It's the idea of slowing it down.
It just slows your mind down. Then you have time between thought and reaction. And that time in between is freedom.
That's very well put.
Yeah.
I think we need to all utilize that in our daily lives.
Absolutely.
So for our last part with Rabia, I'm gonna have her give you guys some advice. So that would be specifically tricks and tips for your health or maybe some wellness based.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. I think the number one thing I would say is food. What you put into your body directly affects how you feel. Now, every body is different, but we wanna make sure things like when you do too much intermittent fasting or you're not eating your meals on time, that can also contribute to a lot of anxiety. Eating a lot of the bad things or eating a lot of the wrong things for your body.
Absolutely.
Sugar intake, carb intake can also
Just
contribute.
the spikes in blood sugar.
Exactly.
And also fatigue if you're not eating enough.
So then we see more things like depression in that sense. So there's extremes to how much we're eating, what we're putting into our body. So just being mindful about looking at a piece of food or seeing a meal and seeing, is this good for my brain or is this bad for my brain? That's a question I like to use a lot. So looking at our meals, assessing how it's gonna make us feel. If we're emotionally eating, what emotion do we feel while we're eating? Being mindful of what we're putting in our body. That's a really good first step to get started, and it allows you to practice having more control over your health. Another one.
I feel like with the food one specifically, I can relate a lot to that because I didn't have the best food or diet back in the day.
Yeah.
And I feel like changing that and making it more of a lifestyle rather than a diet has truly helped me transform my body.
Yep.
I want to speak a little bit more about how food and the relationship you have with food can really affect how your wellness is overall.
Yeah.
Because how you eat is how you feel at times.
Yes.
Now, there's also this other extreme, and I'm sure you've heard about this, where people are leaning towards being very, very strict with their diets.
Yep.
There's a ton of new diets out there, or trends, or lifestyles where you eat very certain things, and I'm sure we've heard of all the ones that are out there.
Yep.
What are your opinions on those?
So I think everyone that's finding their way back to health, I think that it takes a lot of courage to get there. So I think first and foremost, I just want to acknowledge that. I think it takes a lot of courage to want to be different. I think it takes a lot of courage to want your body to be healthier in whatever way it manifests. With that being said, I do agree that there are a lot of unhealthy ways and unhealthy trends that people engage in nowadays. A lot of extremes. So a lot of if this is health, it seems like it's supposed to be hard work. It's supposed to be not eating. It's supposed to be in the gym 24/7. It's supposed to be eating, small
Restricted
meals.
things.
Yeah, and I think that can negatively impact your mental health to an insane level. I don't think that that's healthy for your mind to do, because you're creating restrictions in your mind too. You're telling yourself, you can't do this, I can't do this, I should do this. The can'ts and the shoulds, I think, negatively impact your health. And then when you do something extreme and you're like, oh, well, this doesn't work, and then you resort back to something negative. So people are kind of on one or the other side. I think it's like allowing yourself to be
in the middle and feeling okay with that.
And feeling okay with it.
Because I think we all have meals or days where we don't exactly do what's best for our body or our mind.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to have those days.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the message I want to give is, we see these people who are incredibly routined and strict with the way they do their diet and exercise.
Yeah.
But I feel like that doesn't resonate with the average person.
Yeah.
The average person has ups and downs, and they don't tend to always follow the most restrictive diet.
Yeah.
I think it's important to talk about that because, like you said, listening to your body, kind of asking your mind, is this good for me, is this bad for me, and keeping that as a daily thought rather than being very strict should be the goal.
Absolutely. I don't think there's one food item or there's one substance or one thing that is totally bad for you. I don't think that. I think that there is always just moderation in what you're doing. I believe, and I don't like to call them cheat meals, just celebratory meals or happy meals. Just things that make you feel good about what you're doing or where you're at. And it just knowing that, I'm gonna have this plate of food, I'm gonna savor it, I'm gonna enjoy it, and that's my relationship with it now. It doesn't mean I have to eat this all the time, right?
That's right.
And I think when you're eating a cheat meal, or when you call it a cheat meal, and you already have a negative relationship with your food now. So you're looking at it, you're like, oh man, I shouldn't have eaten this, or this is bad for me, or this. You're already negatively impacting your body. Your organs are gonna respond to what your mind is saying. So you want to look at that meal and you're gonna be like, you know what? I earned it, I deserved it, I'm gonna enjoy this. And that's all for now. I'm not gonna worry about if I'm gonna keep eating like this or I've eaten like this in the past. I'm here right now, I'm gonna take a deep breath, I'm gonna enjoy my food, and I'm gonna move forward.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna thank Rabia for that tip, and we'll continue with her tips after this break. Thanks, guys.
शुगरलैंड में आ रहा है अलरबा वर्ल्ड फूड। 61,000 स्क्वायर फीट में होगा आपका अपना देसी मिनी मॉल, जहां ग्रोसरी से लेकर होम फर्निशिंग तक ये है वन स्टॉप शॉप डेस्टिनेशन लोकेटेड इन न्यू टेरिटरी एरिया एट यूनिवर्सिटी एंड ग्रैंड पार्कवे। अलरबा offers retail space for all businesses. Al-Rabba World Foods. For more information, call Amir Ali at 512-652-8462.
सुनो, आज क्या पकाऊं?
कुछ नया पकाओ यार।
हर रोज का है देखो एक ही सवाल, आज क्या पकाऊं, क्या है ख्याल।
आ गए नए मलका रेसिपी मसाले, खालिस और बेहतरीन अज्जा, मुनफरिद जायका, नो एडेड एमएसजी और ग्लूटेन से महफूज। लखनवी बिरयानी, हैदराबादी अचार गोश्त, पंजाबी तड़का दाल, पेशावरी कढ़ाई।
मुझको देखो मिल गया इसका एक हल, रोज है मजा नया, आज हो या कल।
आज तो कमाल कर दिया।
कमाल तो मलका ने किया है।
तुम ही तो हो मेरे दिल की मलका।
मलका, कुछ नया पकाओ।
Our story begins more than 60 years ago inside an abandoned chicken coop where our founder discovered a retired teacher living, no home, no health care. So she said no to this injustice and yes to transforming lives. It's this drive, this compassion that inspired AARP. Today we empower people to choose how they live as they age. We advocate for health and financial security. We strengthen communities everywhere. We are AARP Houston, creating real possibilities.
Kick off the new year with a new Cadillac from Ron Carter Cadillac. Own the new 2020 Cadillac Escalade with $9,000 customer cash or drive for just $829 a month. The first ever 2020 XT6 premium luxury crossover for $499 a month, or the new 2020 XT4 luxury collection just $379 a month, all for 39 months lease with just $1 down. Your only Houston area Cadillac to your door dealer, RonCarterCadillac.com.
When it it comes to protecting yourself and your partners, all the information out there can be overwhelming. Visit our website. We are a free and confidential service striving to help you stay informed and stay notified. We are committed to a healthy Houston.
मनपसंद सुपरमार्केट जहां की फ्रेश वेजिटेबल्स, स्पाइसेस, फ्रोजन फूड आइटम्स आपको सबसे अच्छे प्राइस में मिलेंगी और हलाल ज़बीहा मीट भी मिलेगा। दाम मनपसंद, नाम मनपसंद, तो फिर क्यों ना जाए मनपसंद? Located at Wilcrest Drive, Houston, North Highway and William Cannon Drive, Austin, Texas. तो नाम याद रखिएगा, मनपसंद सुपरमार्केट।
Dubki, dubki, sasi dubki, dubki, saucy do, saucy do, saucy do, dubki, dubki लगा, sasi का मजा बड़ा, dubki, sasi तो tomato ketchup, मजे की dubki.
Welcome back. We have our guest Rabia. As I told you guys before, she is a yoga therapist as well as an Ayurvedic practitioner, and she's giving us some tips. And I think she's about to share her second tip with us. Go for it, Rabia.
For sure. So along with food, I think a really, really helpful tip is stress management. Like we've been talking, this fast-paced world and this bootstrap mentality can really just not make us think about when we need to calm down and come back home and rest. And so I think stress management every single day, whether you start off with it or end with it, is super important to give yourself that good reset for the next day. So when I say stress management, I kind of want to touch on a little bit about the meditation that we spoke about. So taking time and sitting and meditating with our thoughts. And another one is pranayama, which is controlled breathing to allow our brain to relax and reset.
Very cool. And to speak to that, I see a lot of patients that have depression and anxiety as well as other mental health illness. And for me especially, I see what really helps them, including myself, is practicing these techniques daily and not just making it something we do a day or two, but actually continuously doing them and building them into our daily lives.
Right, because like you say, like our levels of stress are up here. And if we're only doing this much stress management, there's always going to be this gap, this disconnect, always feeling like this pending doom.
Overwhelmed kind of feeling.
Super overwhelmed, super frustrated. So the level of stress also needs to be at the same level of stress management. And it's super important to have those two together so that you always have that synchronization with your breath and your body. So you're always feeling calm, always feeling ready for all the tasks that are coming forward.
That's fair. And what's your very last tip for us?
My very last tip is actually my really favorite. It's about sleep. I love sleep, and sleep is super important to allow our bodies to heal. I think getting good quality, deep rest is super important to allow our organs, our brain to reset, refresh for the next day, give it the necessary healing it needs, kind of let go of all the toxins of the day and be ready for what's to come in the next day. So super important to sleep at the same time every day, wake up at the same time every morning. Everything that happens outside of us we can't control. We can't control the movement and the pace of the world outside. But giving our body a good routine helps us exercise that control with our health. It's also super empowering to know that this is what I'm going to do every night, this is what I'm going to do every morning. So it allows our body to know that we're secure within ourselves. So going to sleep every night, practicing good sleep hygiene. So not sleeping around too much technology, not going to sleep while watching movies, not being on the phone while going to sleep. So these type of things are super, super important.
And as a physician, I see a lot of patients that struggle with sleep, and my advice for them is always building a routine and practicing sleep hygiene. But I think another important thing to remember is there's a lot of studies out there that show that not having enough sleep or not having good sleep can actually lead to a lot of memory problems as a decline in cognition. And with how much technology we have today, stress is there, so sleep is definitely important.
Absolutely.
Connecting those two, like you just said, is really beneficial.
Absolutely.
So I think for our last part, and I'm really excited about this, Rabia is going to teach us a technique. It's a breathing technique she taught me earlier, and she's going to share it with all of you guys. And hopefully you guys can use this when you're having a moment of anxiety or a stressful moment in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So this breathing technique is actually one of my favorites. It's super accessible. You can do it at any given time, anywhere. I personally like to use this in traffic because no one can escape road rage no matter how calm and how much yoga you practice. So I think this one is super easy. You can find yourself doing this breathing technique anywhere. You can do it in your car, you can do it on your mat, you can do it at home, in a chair, laying down flat, sitting up straight. So we'll get into it now so that you know how to do it in any stressful moment that you have. So all we're gonna do is just make sure we're sitting up straight, rolling the shoulders back, and making sure that the spine is straight. We're gonna take our hand and face it towards our palm. The breathing exercise we're doing today is called Anulom Vilom. It's just allowing...
It's Anulom Vilom.
Anulom Vilom,
yeah. Okay.
So it's allowing for the left and right sides of the brain to receive enough oxygen, and it helps really calm down the mind and the body. So we're gonna take our thumb, and the fingers that we're focusing on here is the thumb, the ring finger, and the pinky finger.
Okay.
So we're gonna take the thumb and place it on our right nostril. We're gonna breathe in from the left. How does that feel?
Feels good.
Yeah.
Feels very relaxed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rabia, for teaching us that.
Yeah.
That's very beneficial. Throughout our day, I know you mentioned traffic, and I feel like that's a great point in life to use it. Like if you live in any big city, you run across that every day.
Yeah.
But I think even if you're having a stressful moment, if you're having a hard time making a decision, I feel like in those moments it's really helpful to take a step back and breathe.
Yeah.
When you're not sure if you're having a thought and you don't want to connect it to maybe a bad action, that's a good time to utilize some of these activities.
Absolutely. I really like the way you put it. It's just giving yourself some time and freedom to choose how you want to act instead of allowing your mind to choose how you want to act. So you can exercise a little bit more control. So you feel that reaction coming up, you feel that anger coming up, you feel that anxiety coming up, you say, I'm going to take a moment and do my alternate nostril breathing, and then I'm going to think what I want to do from there.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I do think it's very hard to remember in that moment when you're feeling that to do the technique.
Super, super hard.
And I know we give, like even to my patients, like I tell them these techniques that like I also try to follow myself, but in that moment it's very hard to remember to do that. Something that's really helped me is I either have like a loved one or a friend hold me accountable. So when I tell them that I'm feeling overwhelmed or I'm feeling anxious, I'm like, tell me to do my exercise.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's helped you.
Yeah, it has actually. And like I said, something that I spent a lot of time commuting between cities or to work or to back. And spending a lot of time in my car, noticing the frustration that comes up, which is kind of why I mentioned road rage, because I feel like it's something that everyone can just resonate with. One thing that I find super helpful is I just have a sticky note and I have it in my car.
That's great.
And you just write down, I need to do my alternate nostril breathing so that when you're feeling that rage, it's right there. You can see it, it reminds you, and you can do what you need to do for yourself in that moment. And it's a really good act of self-care.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Rabia, for coming here. It was an honor to have you and to learn from you. Thank you for all the tips and tricks that you gave us for our health.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I hope you guys enjoyed our very first episode, and we'll be back with someone else helping us improve our health overall. And for our next episode, we'll also be talking about some fitness. I hope you guys enjoyed our first episode, and we'll be back with another guest. Thank you.